What's up, guys? We're back with another Danmachi video. Accompanying a lot of Danmachi coming up this, I don't know, next 6 months. We got episode-by-episode reviews coming out. Probably going to get another book release here. And we did get several more book releases to cover / manga. So we're going to cover that today as he's got the sacred text in front of us. So it's 3 in 1. So 1 light novel equals 3 mangas, at least for this particular series or arc or whatever.
Yeah, because the first arc in this particular side story is 3 of these.
Yeah, so this is basically an apology video because I'm going to be gone for episode 1 of Danmachi Season 2. Josh is still going to review it, most likely.
I'm still going to be on time.
But, so, you know, this is what we're here for now. I don't know how much you know about this one, but it's a Lyu side story, or however you want to say her name or spell it or whatever.
Yeah.
Elf lady that works at Benevolent Mistress Tavern or whatever. Mm-hmm. It happens in between Season 1 and Season 2, so technically, chronologically, it would be... Well, technically it's before the War Games, so...
It's like after,
it's
or
after
in the middle of Season 2, probably? We don't know, but the better instance is it's after Volume 6, but before Volume 7 of the light novel.
Yeah.
So,
would you read this if you're just an anime-only watcher? I mean, you could wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there are a little bit of spoilers as to, like, what Belle's level is, you know, what's happening.
Yeah, because I think there's a little bit of reference of what he's done. Not, like, too much to where you'd be, like, completely spoiled of, like, the events playing out if you were to see it for the first time, but still, like you said, enough. So, anime watchers, don't read this just yet. But for all you other people there, yeah, whatever. Who cares about spoilers, right? So I guess we're going to try our best not to talk about spoilers, but we might do something.
Yeah, there are several. So I think talking about people who read the books, you could read this, like if you're reading 6 and 7, or if you're in the process of reading Danmachi, you could stop and read this book right now, or you could wait. I think us waiting, it was kind of nice because you got some things confirmed that are hinted at in the main series. You got it confirmed here.
Yeah.
Some reveals with characters. Some kind of expansion of like the relationship between characters in this one as well. So there are definitely some reveals that you may like totally forget if you pick this up in between 6 and 7, because like why is that important, and a bit
Yeah, I think for me, like, I wasn't disappointed waiting until I like was caught up, or not even like on the same line as Japan release. But anyway, you know what I mean. Like if you're, what is this, volume 14 that we're waiting on?
I believe so.
So yeah, I think it's pretty good because that's dealing with Lyu in the main series right now as like a main focus of that arc, and then seeing this, it kind of, like you said, has some connection tissue there. But the one thing about this series is that at least this first arc, it's centered around a new part of the city that we've never seen before, the gambling center, and specifically the biggest casino.
It's like the pleasure quarters, but
with gambling.
But with gambling,
yeah. And so, you get a little bit more insight of like how this part of the city operates, a little bit more world building there for maybe future setup. But we get to see that Lyu is, I guess, like the best way to say it is like repossessing on some gambling assets that weren't necessarily rightfully being able to be taken.
Yeah.
If I didn't, completely butcher that in my explanation. But, yeah, so you get to see
righting some wrongs.
Yeah.
Being the justice warrior that she is.
Trying not to shed as much blood as she really wants to.
Yeah.
But, this first arc, it's pretty interesting because you get a little bit of, like a reverse trap played by Lyu with her and Seer kind of going undercover to infiltrate the casino. So it focuses mainly on those two that we know of, but we do get some of like Belle and like some people in Ganesha's family.
Yeah, you do get some auxiliary characters, but it is pretty self-contained as far as like Lyu and the gambling. It's all about that arc. To say anything else, all about that problem and that bad guy. As far as the illustrations, I guess we should talk about that a little bit, since it is not a light novel that we're reviewing. How did you... I think I really enjoyed all the art.
Yeah, I really liked digesting the story in this new form media that I hadn't before, just because, like, one, you said, like, the illustrations in it are really well done, and they are... I guess the anime does do a really good job of adapting those like illustrations really well, because in some stuff like the light novels, they may not look as correct or spot on when like the anime comes out, but in this it's very very similar. So it's going to look exactly how it is, but just black and white. But the one thing that I like most about like the manga version that you don't really get necessarily in the light novel is these like chapter recaps. And it's a chance for like the story to take more of like a comedic side, have like a comedic break, and maybe some more serious tones throughout the chapter. And sometimes it's done with characters that are actually in the story, but a lot of times it's with characters that are maybe, have nothing to do with the story directly. So it's kind of nice to see that like it's told from that character's perspective. So they may try to exaggerate things, or they're like, trying to, I guess, just laugh it up a little bit, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so.
They're just you get some comedic parts, especially in those recaps. Almost all of them are pretty funny, and it breaks up well. In Since 3, it's interesting because I read one and then I took a break and read the other two, and I think they flow pretty well. The recaps help you if you don't read them consecutively, but it's really not that long of an experience. So, like, going and reading all of this, it'll take you a couple hours at the most.
And I think it's even nice because it's like you said, if you read it and you, like, read a little bit of it, come back, it helps you kind of remember things because it does tell you what did happen. But if you're reading it all the way through without stopping, it's still a different enough experience of that same information that you're able to still have an enjoyment out of it, even if you're just like reading it.
And if you're used to like Danmachi books, it's 6 chapters, so it's pretty similar to what you would get in a book as far as the chapter length and structure. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Overall, I think it was very promising. We here at Addict Informative are like super passionate about Danmachi, but we never really got into the Sword Oratorio side stories. I think kind of we don't really like those characters, or they're not, super complicated stories, and they're, I don't know. Belle's like tangentially involved, but all the characters that we love aren't necessarily central to that story. Yeah. So like, at least for me, I watched the anime. There's a couple characters that are cool, but like, I'm not going to read all 11 books, even though I have the latest one pre-ordered. But that's another story. But with this one, I think it. First of all, Lyu's like a really cool character, and she's very important to the story, especially with the arc coming up, or finishing, the arc terminating in the next book. But also I do like how they utilize Belle. You get to, I think every scene that he's in, it serves a purpose not only for the plot, but for the character development of Belle and the characters around him. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, I think that this series objectively is probably better, like it's going in a better direction and it's better thought out than the first side series or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know, I think this is very promising moving forward, and I'm excited to see, I guess, if it's a prequel or sequel, in regards to where this story goes next. I'm excited to see where it goes.
It does seem like he has a better direction of like at least where it fits in the timeline, and kind of having that contingency thing working out a little bit smoother in this series. But I also do like, like you said, with Belle's interaction, I think it works the same way as Volumes 8 does in the light novel, where, Belle's kind of like he's like important to like the story going on, but it's more of like he's not the main role in it. So I like that a lot. I also like the stuff that they add to the story, because it's like, there's a lot of like stuff in here that maybe necessarily will never connect to the main series as like the villain in like this main arc, in this like first arc of the series. But there's a lot of stuff that they add to the world, or you get some reveals that I think we definitely got right. But
speculation was great.
Yeah. So I do like that. For instance, like the city, seeing a new part of the city, that's really cool. I like how they're opening that up. And, Belle's been there before, so if they do want to ever touch back on it, they can. I like there's some things with certain characters, like, for instance, connections that you get. There's like a connection between Lyu and Ganesha family, or at least a part of it. I like seeing that because we technically did get a reference to it during the Xeno arc in the light novels, but they didn't really go too much into that, but they touch a little bit on it here. So I like that. There's also some stuff that, if you watch our speculation stuff or like our discussions, like, yeah, you could tell we'd be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if this should be like the main part that we should talk about this, but I think comparing it to the other side story is important. And I feel like not only does it add more to the world, like Josh was saying, but I feel like the elements are important and not only add to the story, add to this the city, but add to like pretty much everything, the narrative in general. And I think that's something that like the other side stories kind of like throw away for me. I was like, I don't really care. Mm-hmm. But like this one, it's like not only is there important reveals, there definitely were important reveals to the main story in this one, but I feel like it's something that I wouldn't just be like, oh, it's a side story, I can skip it. You know, I feel like people who are caught up to volume 13 reading, they should definitely check this out because you will be missing something out that won't necessarily be missing if you don't read Oratorio, you know?
Yeah, because I think like some of it's like if you read it, it's kind of a great thing for both people because if you read this when you're still early on in the light novels, this is kind of like a reveal to you, but for people like us that have read some of the later volumes, it's more of like a confirmation, so it still has the same effect, but it's a different kind of satisfaction. Another thing I will say, just out of like, you know, actual structure of the book and like the way it's laid out, I do like the fights in this. It is, I won't say like it's as interesting as seeing Bell go up some foes because his is like, oh, you know, you don't know what's going to happen next because there's such a power level difference. In this one, it feels like it's maybe not necessarily more on the same level, but you can definitely tell like Lyu's got the upper hand, at least in the fighting aspect. They do a great job of countering that with like use of seer and stuff like that. I won't go into too much detail about that so you can read it. But I do like that they played off of that. So at least in the manga form, I found myself liking the third volume the most because it has a little bit more, I guess, of a balance of that. The first one, I still find it interesting. It does move a little bit slow because, you know, it's the beginning of the story. The middle, I think, is, I don't know, you can tell me what you thought, Michael, but I thought it was, you know, it's like one of those that's like interesting, but it's not necessarily revolutionary in terms of what it has.
Yeah, that is one, I don't know if that's necessarily a huge negative, but it is a pretty linear story. Like, they're rescuing someone, they do some things, they rescue the person.
Yeah, it's not, you know, breaking the...
You're not going to get like, oh, it's a narrative turn.
Yeah.
This isn't what I expected. This is like, yes, this is what you expected it was when you read the back of the book. But at the same time, I think it's a very enjoyable story. And if you go into it saying, oh, well, this sounds interesting, then you'll be happy.
I think it's like a perfect example of how a simple story, if done right, can, you know, be better than average.
Yeah.
You know? But with that being said, Michael, what's your rating for this?
Oh,
I hit you up with the hard questions every time.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's interesting. Being someone who's not, I don't know if I should say this, but being someone who's not a super huge fan of the manga format, I'm more of like an anime or light novel person. I don't know why. Maybe it's just you can read more material in light novel form.
Because you like your images moving?
Yeah, exactly. Still, images are lame. Yeah. I'd have to give this probably a gotta have it. It's like I said, simple story. We talked a bunch about it, so I'm not gonna belabor the point too much. But you do get to see some poker kind of games in here, some mind games, and Seer scares me. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I'm scared. Also, Lyu confirmed top 5 or top 3 girl. So you know.
Other video about that coming.
Other video coming about this.
Yeah, for me it's the same. It's a gotta have it. I think it's just really refreshing, especially if you haven't read the manga thing. But I think you know, out of just other mangas I've read, I do really like the format that they have. The illustrations are great. The story itself, really solid. So I think it's definitely a must-have for all Danmachi fans, especially if you're wanting more of Lyu, because I think she has a really good character, you know, developed, but
it's like what they're doing with Eyes, except it's a character you care about.
Yeah, because it's actually done right. I'm sorry if that offends any of you, but, you know, honestly, whatever. We've already been past this. We've been past
this. We're not in the Eyes camp, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm more in the Eins camp, if you know what I'm saying.
Anyway.
That's Overlord. Okay.
But anyway, I guess that will conclude this, and we'll be back for more Danmachi stuff.
Bunch of stuff coming up, yeah.
Bunch of stuff. We have a new rapid fire questions that's going to be centered around at least the volume 2 material of this. So if you want more of like a spoiler talk, that'll probably be where that's at. So be looking out for that.
First, yeah,
buy the book first, read that. So
it doesn't take that long.
It doesn't. All right. We'll see you guys.
Later, Addicts.
Peace.